Hi, my name is Khleif, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Khleif, and I'm thrilled that you're here. And I am super excited to interview my friend and warrior in my coaching program, Trina Piceno. And I almost messed up the name. Trina brings a ton of property management experience to the game, and we'll let her tell you her story. But that's probably where we're going to go with this, is property management and asset management. But anyway, let's get going. Trina, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah. So if you wave, they can't see it. Just so you know,
okay.
you have to say it, because more people listen to me on iTunes and watch on YouTube. But anyway, welcome. Take a minute and talk a little bit more. Expand on your background a little bit. I mean, I know you're in over 80 units right now, and we'll dig into that a little bit as well. But talk a little bit about your background first.
Yeah, happy to. So ultimately, about 10 years ago, my husband and I moved back to California, exited the military, and my family, we have a bunch of rental properties throughout California. So I needed to be able to, assist my family with some of those rental properties. With that, my stepdad and I decided to get certified. We took a course. California Apartment Owners Association has a great CCRM credential course. So that was kind of my baseline education. But I really quickly saw that I'm not going to get any experience with our 6 stable doors. I think one of them hasn't turned over in the past 6 years. So not a lot of experience there. So I wanted to get my foot in the door with a real estate company that did property management. Just again, if I'm going to do something, I want to know, like, on the ground how it's going to operate. So I interned with a Keller Williams. That led me to meeting my business partner, Wesley Olson, who has a real estate brokerage out here in California. And he essentially had a pool of individuals who were investors who just bought up a bunch of properties and needed someone to manage them. So me coming in to work with him has been great. He's given me a lot of latitude to make decisions and see where we need to go. A majority of our portfolio ended up being D and C class properties, just that's where the margins were for profit in our area. And that got me a lot of experience that was pretty eye-opening. Fortunately, I have a pretty eclectic background. I used to work in county jails. I used to be a Girl Scout coordinator, so I'm used to dealing with different personalities and overcoming challenges. But that, coupled with having the empowerment from Wesley to make decisions and see where things need to go, was pretty great for my experience.
Yeah, Wesley was your partner in our Warrior program, and you guys are awesome. You guys make a great team as well. And so you got in the property management. You had D-class assets, which I push people not to do, because I've had D-class assets, and to me, I don't know that they're worth the effort. But I know that these assets that you just bought fall into that C-D category. And so, I think you had, before we started recording, you said, you met somebody at one of my Chicago boot camp, who a warrior that you ended up doing a deal with, a 64 unit, and then you also got an 18 unit from him, and those are the doors that you're in, and you've got both of those stabilized. You said the 18 unit runs itself. The 64 unit, I was damn near empty when you guys got it, wasn't it?
Well, the economic vacancy was very high, but we were at about 98% physical vacant or occupancy.
Oh, you were? Okay.
We could very easily see that they were stacking, heads and beds to get it primed to sell. So
I thought I remember seeing a picture of the parking lot. It was empty. That's why I assumed it was empty, but okay, I was mistaken. Well, so it was physically occupied, but not, by the way, guys, the economic occupancy is who's paying. Physical occupancy, who's living there. We don't care about physical. We care about economic, obviously. Yeah. And so, okay. Well, so you know what? Let's go. Let's go into property management, because that is totally your superpower. I know that you sold your property management company. here very recently, and now you're working with the company that bought your property management company, which is very cool. You said you're very impressed with them. And so let's talk about some property management tips that you might give folks that are doing their own management. Maybe that's a place to start. Or I'll just let you go with it.
Absolutely. No. So one of the things that I see a lot when people are starting to venture into this space or a similar space, whether it be single family or any layer of investment, is that the idea of managing yourself sounds very, I can do this. Let me get my hands in the dirt. I think one thing that is very important to highlight on the front end, save you some pain and heartache, is to align yourself with attorneys. Very early on, get yourself involved in the various, clubs that are out there, the BNI groups, anything that you can learn the demographics and how things are working in your particular market as far as business. And then also just make sure that you are taking the approach with eyes wide open and protecting your liabilities. You are a landlord. That is your biggest liability, is that you have a responsibility to maintaining a property safely. And then effective communication. Fair housing is a really big deal. There are people out there who solely make a living off of suing people. They'll just go from place to place and just sue people because it's prime in that area. There's lawyers that line up outside of courthouses waiting for someone to walk up and be available to speak to them for just 5 minutes so that they can now represent them against you in court.
Hold on. Let me stop you for a second. Let me stop you for 1 second. Yeah. So about the professional litigators, I've got friends. I got a friend that had an office warehouse space, and somebody came and he was in the office and said, "Hey, can I use your bathroom?" And he said, "Yeah, okay." And they let him use the bathroom, and he got sued because it wasn't ADA compliant. Okay, by that person. And so, guys, in this multifamily space, there are lots of protected classes. Ones you may not think about, and familial status, sexual orientation, things that you wouldn't maybe think are protected, but they are. And if you ask the wrong question, you're going to get sued. If they, and so very, very important to be very careful and know what is discriminatory and what isn't. And the bottom line is you just have to treat everyone the same. That's the overarching. Would you agree with that, Trina?
Absolutely. Personal characteristics can get you sued if you seem to have discriminated on personal characteristics, which could be as simple as someone has a tattoo and they felt like you had treated them unfairly, and there's any layer that they can anchor onto. It's pretty crazy out there.
Yeah. Okay, well, I interrupted you. Please continue with your thoughts on property management. I just wanted to hammer that one home about discrimination. So many owners don't realize that they're walking around with a bullseye on their forehead. So, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing is it sounds like you shouldn't have to do this, being that you have a written agreement, like your rental contract. But CYA is one of the biggest things. Every single thing that you communicate should be documented. I know a lot of people who are like, listen, I'm just going to have a pleasant conversation with another reasonable human being to overcome this conflict, and we're going to get to something that we both agree to. Okay, that's amazing. Have a conversation, overcome the challenge, but you better recap that in the email, highlighting everything that is, you have to bullet point everything, time and date stamp is best. If you have a CRM system that tracks all of that for you, that's probably best too.
Or property management software that you can attach the emails to. By the way, as an aside, yes, really glad you said that. But anytime, guys, this is kind of an aside. This is like off on a side road for a second. Anytime you're working with a governmental agency, as well, really pretty much anybody in this business, a vendor, anything, you should always reduce a conversation to writing, like she just said. But definitely if you're working with the county or the city on something, reduce it to writing, because it's crazy how things get forgotten or manipulated or changed if you don't. So, all right, so what else? CYA on the email, great idea.
Yeah, it also feels very impersonal to have canned answers or scripted answers. However, it's the best thing to do because very clearly someone can identify that this is something that you say very commonly. It's not personal, it's just informational. So such as answering the phone because someone's calling in because they want to see a property. Just making sure that you have the same verbiage or structure of your verbiage. And then two, written leasing standards gets a lot of people out of hot water when someone feels like they were unfairly treated based off of application standards. So if you need to have your leasing standards in writing. And ultimately what that is what your criteria is for screening people. You just want to make sure that that's buttoned down and it's black and white. And if they qualify, they qualify. If they don't, it's something that they've self-certified and understood that they wouldn't based off of the written leasing standards.
Yeah, that's a really good idea as it relates to particularly. I mean, where it's critical is I mean, you should have it even if you're a business of one, but it's absolutely imperative that you have it if there are other people working with you that are communicating with residents, that they sign off on those standards so that it mitigates your liability. Maybe not completely eliminates it, but definitely mitigates it if something happens. So ADA stuff, really discriminatory stuff. What else? Reduce everything to writing. Let's talk about, one thing about the property management business is it's very systemized. There's so many things that you need to have checklisted and systemized. Can you speak to that a little bit, maybe?
Yeah. One thing that was really great for me and just entering into the space, understanding that I had assets that did have giant targets on them, on the D class side and on my family's, we're going to call them B class. But with that being the frame of reference and going into my initial education, being able to see that there are agencies out there that you can gain entire workbooks and packets. I mean, you have an amazing workbook and packet that you offer at your boot camps that is just, if you just take that and just make it a systemized process and just have your checks and balances every single time. Again, the goal is to make everything something that you can point to, that is in writing, that there's no question about it. You do the same thing every single time. Another thing too, just venturing into the proactivity side of property management, is understanding your asset. If you know that you have trees everywhere, don't pretend that we are going to forget that every year you need to have the gutters cleaned. Get those kinds of systems in place too, so that you're not reactive, you can be proactive. So that's more on the AC business.
AC filters. Mm-hmm. I just came from an asset that we took over the management of, and I've got pictures of scores of blocked AC filters, and we're wondering why there's an AC problem there. I mean, hello, that's being proactive. Speak for a minute about our program. I mean, I'm so excited that, to have women on the show that to show other women what's possible. Can you speak to your experience of the Warrior program a little bit?
Yeah. So I was actually introduced to the Warrior program through my business partner, Wesley. He was very motivated. He's been listening to your podcast since pretty much they came out. And the moment that he learned after your first boot camp, he learned for the second one. LA was our first one that we went to. And we went to the boot camp, and he understanding the subject matter and the end goal for what he wanted to accomplish, he was like, Trina, you have to come with me. You have to come with me. We're going. It's in our same state. He just started this. We have to go. So we go, and I am not big. Like, I've been to a Tony Robbins event before, and I really enjoyed it. There's some aspects that maybe I didn't feel like I needed to take away, but I definitely took the lessons out of it. And I was not understanding exactly what was going to happen at the boot camp. But the moment I went in there and started being able to just network with like-minded people who are in the industry and meet other operators who have war stories just like I do, I very quickly found that I'm not only valid in this space, but I can grow on my education base. Because after being in an industry for so long and dealing with the same things for so long, you're always wondering, property management's always going to throw you a little monkey wrench, but you're always wondering, where can I continue to grow in my education base? So this was a great option for me to really expand. Now, going into the Warrior programs, you have a lot of aspects that you put into your programs, such as motivating, overcoming internalized fears and things like that, that really spoke to me, because I have not understood what was wrong, but now it's called imposter syndrome that I understand. Wow. And that's because I never had a college degree. I've only learned things, not the hard way, but I've had to learn through experience. And going through your program really helped me step outside of my comfort level to say that I can keep on growing from here. So it's been extremely motivating to help me overcome things that I didn't realize I was getting in my own way with. So thank you so much for that. That I've
Oh,
really
that's
appreciated
nice.
it.
Oh, you made my day with that. That's beautiful. Thank you. So what's next for you? Are you going to bring some more doors in? You looking for some more assets? I mean, and guys, she obviously came to this with some property management experience, and which is a great precursor to this business. Finance degree is a great precursor. Anything in finance, anything in any real estate at all. It doesn't have to be multifamily is great. If you're a great networker, you can bring money to deals. There's just so many ways to do this business and bring in skill sets that you have. If you're super analytical, that's always needed. If you're more outgoing and more of a people person, that's needed. So there's just so many ways to step into this business that you don't be afraid if you don't have all the pieces, because this business is absolutely a team sport. Like Trina's got a partner. Wesley's a beautiful guy, superhuman being. And that's why, and that's how this business is done, is as a team sport. So what do you think, what's been your favorite part of the business?
So my favorite part of the business, and I'm gonna anchor on my property management experience, but it does go into my asset management experience, is a lot of people don't know, but I grew up on Section 8 and welfare.
Oh, wow.
And coming from that and still knowing, like looking at my mom's model of just working hard and never quitting and keeping on going and seeing where we got today, has really been motivating. But I know so many people within those spaces that get very disheartened. And, there's absolutely a stigma that's attached when you do live in, projects or subsidies or anything like that. So being able to work with those families and just be the person that shows up and says, it doesn't matter, what you look like or anything like that, or what your income source is. If you qualify, here comes a home. I still get handwritten colorings on the rent envelopes for families that we've leased to that are just absolutely grateful. We've helped people who were essentially being relocated from extremely violent areas, just find a place to live. We worked with master lease programs and subsidy programs that a lot of people didn't want to touch because we knew the actual risk that we were taking on with that. We'd be able to set some systems in place to overcome that risk, but it meant that we weren't eliminating those programs from our available options. So that's been really, I guess, like my passion project within that is working with underserviced areas. And
nice.
People just
what advice? what advice would you give women that are watching or listening to this that want to get into this business, haven't taken action yet? What advice might you give them as a woman?
Well, a lot of women that I do know that have come into this space are very educated. It doesn't mean a college degree. It means that they want to get their hands on as much information as possible. I'd say continue educating yourself, but don't be afraid to pull the trigger. And it could be as simple as aligning with other people who are in the space where maybe you think they're in the space more than you are. Just have conversations. Have conversations, explain what exactly you want to do. And that actually is pulling the trigger to getting into the next step. So a lot of people are just shy and don't want to burden someone. But no, there's so many people in this industry that have learned so much and are just excited to share that.
It's really about who you know. Were there any mistakes or setbacks that happened, in your career so far that maybe set you up for future success that you learned from? Anything come to mind when I ask that one?
So I feel like as I mentioned, a lot of my lessons that I've learned through my experience have been because we've had to overcome something. I think that there's a lot of times where you want to see the positive outcome down the road, but I have now become the brake pumper in a lot of relationships that I'm in, as far as, professional people that I'm connected with, where I want to see that visionary ideal, but I'm going to be the brake pumper that says, well, here's where I've learned a lesson here. Here's where I've learned a lesson here. You can't be the most optimistic person on the planet when you need to be realistic in some circumstances. But it doesn't mean that you're you're completely out of, touch with where growth can be. So
Okay.
just putting that realistic layer on things.
Okay. What do you think is the best advice you've ever received?
Okay. I was listening
I know I didn't
to.
prepare you to this for
No,
this.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I have one. I was just scrolling through Instagram one day, and I was listening to a Gary Vaynerchuk link that was a young man explaining that he wanted to travel or something. And he goes, well, who pays for your life? And he says, well, my parents do. And he says, well, the moment that you get off their payroll, then you can make your own decisions. And so it really just signified, like, who's signing your paychecks? Who's paying for your life? Are you the one in control of paying for your own life, or is someone else? Like, are you a W-2 and they're signing your paychecks? So I thought that was a really great eye opener.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. Well, listen, I really appreciate you being on the show, Trina. It's great to see your smiling face, and I'm sure we'll talk again really soon. But thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Rod, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. Now, I know you've been hard at work helping our Warrior students do just that using our ACT methodology, which is awareness, close, and transform. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
You bet. Guys, we've been going nonstop for 3 years, building an amazing community of like-minded people. And our coaching students, which we call our warriors, have had extraordinary results. They've purchased thousands and thousands of units. And last year, we did over 1,000 units with our students. And we're looking to grow this group and take it to the next level. We're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework that's really step by step, and then leverage our systems and network to raise equity, to find and close deals, and to build partnerships nationwide. Now, our warrior community is finding success in any market cycle. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more of our incredible network and take advantage of the incredible opportunities that are coming very soon, apply to work with us at mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 41411. That's mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 41411.